Hello and welcome back to Ogie Mart. I just want to catch you up on this Monkeys No Mod challenge on Felsbrun. I've learned a few things and I wanted to share with you just in case you may not have been aware of this. When you lease items in this game, on the surface, I thought, oh, well, the lease price is low enough. I can make that money in jobs and stuff like that. Um, I haven't found that to be the case, at least not when leasing three pretty expensive items. And I'll show you in a minute what I mean. What I've been doing is working some odd jobs, and you'll start seeing that flash up on the screen right now. I've been doing many contracts, and it seems or it feels like I've been making lots of money. But if you look in the top right hand corner of the screen, you'll see that no, I've only got maybe $20,000 over where the last episode was. And that's over like 5 hours worth of playing. So I'm just doing different chores and trying to get some stuff done on my two fields at the same time. And I look up and I notice my money hasn't moved at all with all the work I've been putting in. So that's when I started looking at the lease conditions a little bit more carefully. And what I found was that my large tractor, for instance, whoops, as I ruined some of that person's cotton field, my large tractor, for instance, is leasing out at something like, I don't know, $10,000 per hour used. Now, obviously, right now I'm doing a job where I've borrowed equipment. So this borrowed equipment's not really, running my hour total up. But whenever I use my large tractor, I'm adding on to the hours. I think I'm up to like 4 hours, maybe 3 hours on my large tractor. And my small tractor is not too much better. I mean, it is around 3 or 4 thousand per hour. And my harvester, I kind of shudder to even look at. Matter of fact, I don't know if I've looked at that because that one's even worse. Oh, I didn't quite cut that corner as well as I had hoped. So I was losing money. And obviously, that's not the name of the game. If we take a look at my financial here in a minute, let me just get to the drop off point here. We'll take a look. The amount of money I've made is pretty significant. I think I've made 50,000 or more. Let me double check. So let's take a look at my money here. If we scroll down to money made, we've got 30,000 plus 40,000. So I've made over 71,000. That's about 5 hours worth of contract work and stuff. I've had to pay out about $4,000 for workers. But if you look up above to, where is it? Right there, that's the killer. The vehicle leasing cost is $55,000. That means out of the 71 I've made, almost 2/3 of that has gone towards the lease cost. So when I look at what I'm leasing, I've got these three items. Let's check out the Activa, just for instance here. Come over here, look at the Activa. The lease cost on this is $10,000. That's $4,000 per hour, $2,000 per day. And how many hours do I have on mine? Let's check out my garage. Leased items, 2.9 hours. So I've almost got 3 hours on mine. So, that's all adding up quite a bit. If I look at the tractors, the T8, T7 I have, that lease is, well, let's say it's 5,000 per hour. I thought it was 10. It's 5,000 per hour. But if I look at what I have Oh, I hope I didn't just accidentally lease that. Um, if I look at my leased items and look at my T7, that's got 3 hours, and the little guy's got 1.5 hours. So we're getting up there. So I'm thinking that I have to spend money to replace this T7. So we're looking at 2,400, 2,000, $240,000. I've got 248,000 before this job is done with the sweet potatoes. The sweet potato job pays 25,000, and actually I think it's 27. But I borrowed the equipment, so I'm assuming a couple thousand lost there. May not be that high. And then with the field size I've chosen to work on, there's going to be significant payout for me to keep in terms of sweet the beets, sugar beets. So I'm hoping that I can bring this up closer to 300,000 by that time. So I want either my big tractor or my harvester paid off. I'll probably go with the big tractor. I'm using that, I think, a little bit more for jobs. And that's going to help me catch up at least a little to the drain. Don't use your leased items. Don't accelerate time. That was another lesson I learned. If I go to accelerate time to 5 times, well, that means time's passing faster. So I don't know. Maybe this is an erroneous assumption. If you have time accelerated and you use a tractor for an hour, does that count as 5 hours of use on the tractor or an hour of use on the tractor? I haven't had the chance to check that out, mostly because I'm chicken and I don't want to lose money at this point. I'll have to try it on a different map. Speaking of different maps, so I just wiped that stop sign out completely. I think by the end of this Let's Play, there will not be a sign anywhere on this map that's still intact. I've been doing a pretty good job of accidentally clipping almost all of them. So on a new map, I experienced Wilhelmina's Forest yesterday for a startup there, and I think that's going to be a fun playthrough where you really have no roads, no nothing, and you have to basically blaze a trail through this wilderness. Let me move this forward a little bit. So I'm anxious to see something like that. Now, I'd love to do a multiplayer server with people. I posted that on the Facebook group site. And people say, oh, yeah, they're out there. But, I haven't been able to find them. So if they're out there, I'm just not really sure how people are finding multiplayer groups. And the multiplayer experiences I have had fall into two categories. One category is everybody joins the map and they're all doing their own thing, going off in their own direction. It's kind of like ATS, where, yeah, we're all on the same map, we're all driving our trucks around, but our interactions are very limited in terms of what's going on in the game. Or the alternative is, all right, everybody, why don't you come on over to this one farm and we'll all work on these things together. Sounds great. But with people coming on at different times from different parts of the world, sometimes many different languages being involved, it's extremely hard to communicate with people within the server. Here's the goals for this farm. Here's the short-term, long-term things that we want to concentrate on. So that style of multiplayer ends up being one or two people who hold the keys to the farm, dictating to all the slaves or minions, guys, you must do this. And there's very little choice. So you want choice in a game like this. You want to have the world pretty much opened. And you want discourse, but that's not always the case when people are coming from all over the world to play this game together. So I'm curious what other multiplayer experiences people are having, and how do you communicate in such a way that people can log in at any time, clearly see here are all the options that would benefit the farm or farms if you have multiple farms, and allow people to feel like they're contributing without stepping on each other's toes. This field, for instance, let's say this field was ours, and you started harvesting this field, and I just logged in and I said, oh, they must be harvesting. So I started finishing this up. I get this field finished up, and then I start planting carrots. And you're like, wait, why are you planting carrots? I wanted to plant wheat. Okay, see, I didn't know that. There was no way in game for you to be able to leave a message for me, like a sign or something, saying, hey, plant this field with this next, if anybody should harvest. So if anybody knows of a mod or can make a mod that would do that, I think multiplayer experience wise, that would help an awful lot for asynchronous play where people can coordinate with each other a little bit more on the same farm. Otherwise, you end up with lots of people doing their own thing. Now, on maps like No Man's Land and Wilhelmina Forest, and some of the other maps that are out there now that are totally blank canvases for you to build on, I could see teams of individuals going out and maybe making little neighborhoods. All right, I'm going to make a neighborhood that focuses on this. I'll do this. And then we throw some roads in between and maybe place some factories in between or something like that. And poof, that could be making an interesting world where everybody has their autonomy, but we're also building a collective world. I've been playing a little bit on the map of Yukon by Honor Realism. And let me tell you, that thing's huge. There's enough space on there for probably a good dozen or more players to easily have elbow room without stepping on each other's toes. But big maps like that often make you feel isolated and disconnected too. So there's a challenge there as well. Another thought I had was with the challenges that people are coming up with. I noticed in the Facebook group, we just recently had somebody offer us a template. Like, here's a standard challenge template to use. And I like the idea of standardizing that a bit because we're getting a lot of challenges thrown at us nowadays. And there's all kinds of variations as to how those challenges are being explained. But I'm curious, how come there aren't any challenges, and maybe there are, I'm just ignorant of it. How come there aren't any challenges where people have got a farm to a particular situation and said, all right, here's the save game, here's all the mods in the map and whatever else, and here's the situation. You have X number of months or whatever the criteria are, and say, in this finite setting, here's what your goal is. Share how you did it and how successful you were. That way everybody can do this finite setup, grab that same place, start at the same location, and boom, let's see what everybody comes up with. What kind of diversity? What kind of responses do we get? I just don't know if that's feasible. You know, can you take somebody's game save, load it into your machine well, and do it? I have a PC, so I know on a PC I can do it. But I'm not sure how those of you on console are able to do that easily. I'm assuming the format for a game save is the same, but that's an assumption only. I don't know. I know when I create a server online, I have 2 servers for Farm Sim right now, both with maps that people are not really using. And the mods that I put on there and everything else, those are in a standard format. People just click on the links and they download those mods if they can. Again, there's a lot of mods, console players can't use. But the maps themselves and the save games get people into the server. So I don't know that anybody with a console actually has connected to the server. That might be the case. They have not. That's unfortunate. I understand consoles have limitations over PCs, simply from computing power, storage, and everything else. But that'll be nice in the next generation of computers and or this game if they could start combining the communities in a way so more people can be playing together. Because I do see people advertising, hey, anybody on console want to do this? And I'm thinking, well, I don't really have a console, but I do have these two PC servers. So if anybody wants to start a multiplayer challenge or just multiplayer maps together, I can set up pretty much most any map that's out right now. Could set that up on one of the two servers. So in terms of this Let's Play, I've determined that I've got to get rid of some of these leased items. And that's my goal on this day one, is get rid of at least one leased item that's significant in size. This is 92, I might as well empty it. Another goal I have is trying to figure out how to do these recordings in such a way that they're not just boring watching the same base equipment all the time. I did some work on some of my lands, and I will show you a montage of different jobs I've done on that one field that was grass. And as you can see with the montage right now, I've plowed it all up. You know, plowing by hand manually without using a worker. You all know the pain and the struggle was real. I think I did 2 jobs with a worker in the time, maybe 3 jobs. No, it was 3 jobs. In the time it took for me to plow that whole field up, it took me 3 jobs to get done. 3 big fields, harvesting, I believe. So that was significant time input, and I got it lined on the edges and obviously seeded and fertilized, at least I think to the first stage. Let me check that. See if I got that to the first stage. It's over here, field 30. Oh, I got it double fertilized. Okay, awesome. But you can see that it's no longer in a plowed state, no longer lime needed. So we're all good on that particular field. That should have nice output when it's done. But I didn't record any of the video on that because I figured, well, do people really want to watch me plowing? Now, I've seen an awful lot of video, especially of base mod challenges, where people do time lapses. And are those valuable to include or not include? Should I just do snapshot pics like I did in this one, where I'll catch you up on what I've been learning, what I've been struggling with, how I've been resolving it, and just show you some snapshots of the progress along the way? For instance, when you look at the snapshots of me plowing on this one, you can see, oh, well, he's doing kind of a donut pattern. Is that how you plow your fields? Or do you go up and back and forth kind of like the AI does? You know, there might be differences in how people do things that would be interesting to see. Oh, I think my truck is full. Yeah, my truck is full. So let's jump over to the truck and go empty that. So this field's almost done. And after that, it's starting to get late afternoon. I might do one more job before the afternoon is done here. And then call it my first day done on the new mod challenge. And I think I've got in something like 7 or 8 hours out of this first day challenge. And I'll have one item in lease paid off, and that's good. But tomorrow's in-game tomorrow day, I need to get my wheel hooked up first of all. This herky-jerky keyboard thing is very hard on the eyes in this format. So the second day of gameplay, I hope to have harvests on at least one of the fields. which will be nice to see how much money that is. I have high hopes that it's going to be good money, but it's corn, and I haven't really concentrated on corn before, so I'm not really sure how much that's going to make for the acreage I have. We'll find out. And if there's a way to make more money from corn than just simply harvesting it, I'll have to explore that. I don't really have a forage wagon, so I can't do it that way. But, maybe I work towards getting the cows or pigs set up right away and start throwing some of this harvest at them. I've seen a lot of YouTubers testing that, and a lot of them are saying it's cheaper just to buy the darn food than it is to use your own crops and make the animal food. I don't know, maybe that depends on the map they're on, the different costs, the different mods they're using. I don't know if anybody's ever tested that on the base mods, the base in-game mods. So if I look at this contract, we are 92% done. That means from here on out, I should be able to just harvest the rest of this field and keep all the goodies on that field, or pretty close to it anyway. Although there is a certain percentage transported. So we'll have to see. I want to keep some of it for myself, or at least sell some of it. I know by default, it automatically sells what's left over if you're just dumping. But if I looked at the sales market, and I go over to beets, gosh, I'm not seeing a terribly great price anywhere. But the train station mill is the best place. And if I flag that on my map, that's way over here. And our delivery is over here. So whatever's left over, I want to stop the flow and come on down here to the train station mill to sell the leftovers. I mean, maybe it's not really worth it that much, but when we're talking, the price is only 270 per thousand. I'd like to maximize all the potential profits that I can. I hear that beets are really good because of the yield, and I don't know. This is my first time ever doing beets. I've played the game well over 1,500 hours, and I've never done beets, believe it or not. And I really didn't even do this one. I'm just doing a job on it. I've always heard the horror stories of, oh my God, it's so slow and so expensive to do, but then everybody says it's really got great turnout. And I'm seeing now that in this field that I'm harvesting, I've filled this truck up, I don't know, 7, 8 times now. So the yield has been high. I just don't know how much the owner of the field is making off of these runs. I could do the math, but it's a game. I don't really feel like doing all that work right now. Simple multiplication. It's a weekend. It's all good. So I think I'll finish this field up and I'll connect with you hopefully in the next game day and let you know what's going on there. I'd be curious your thoughts on multiplayer experiences. What works for you, what doesn't work for you. Be curious to know a little bit about leasing and what your experiences have been. Am I way off on this leasing thing? Is it not a big deal to pay effectively $13,000 an hour for the 3 things I have to be running? That seems kind of excessive because I don't know too many things you could do in this game to make $13,000 an hour if those things were running and I was doing odd jobs and whatnot. So some stuff I need to still explore, figure out, and learn about. Anxious to hear any thoughts anybody else has. So from Ogie Mark Gaming, I hope you have a great day and thanks for stopping by.